Okay, hello friend, welcome to the KtT channel. My name is Barry and this is the introduction to a three-part video series I'm going to be recording on a Christian and anxiety. You know, can a Christian experience anxiety? What should we do if we experience anxiety? And anxiety, really, I'll be saying this on part one on the next video, but anxiety, you know, can lead to greater things like stress, panic attacks, and if it's constant and chronic, it could lead to depression, things like that. So what I'd like to do is to share with you some things, not all the things, but some major things that happened in my life during this last year since October 2021, and to just go through my kind of, you know, what happened when I kind of spiraled out of control a little bit, had a bit of, you know, had the anxiety inflame, and the things that I did to try and combat it myself that did and didn't work, how I sought the Lord with these things like that. And maybe something will resonate with you. You know, maybe you'll get a blessing from it somehow. Maybe you're experiencing anxiety yourself, and just the thought that another believer's going through the same things can sometimes you know, be a blessing and an encouragement. And that's one thing I will say to you, friend. You know, if you are a believer, you're saved, you're on your way to heaven when you die through what Christ did for us on the cross, and you're suffering from anxiety and the stresses of the world and so on, you're not alone. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people, a lot of believers that are stressed, are anxious about things, and I know that it goes against what's written in the Word of God. You know, the Lord says to put all your cares upon Him, and you know, to want for nothing and things like that, and you know, He'll always give us that peace and comfort. And we do have that ultimate peace and comfort of knowing where we're going when we die, or as we wait for the rapture. You know, hopefully it comes in our lifetime, that we can be taken out of this place. So we have that great comfort and peace. But every day we've always got battles. It's a spiritual battle every day, and we're told in Scripture as well that in this world we will have troubles and tribulations and so on. The world will hate us because they hate Christ. Simple as that. So those kind of things can add up and build up, and if we're not careful, they can end up, you know, being such a weight on us that it just brings us down and down and down, and makes us, you know, ineffective for the Lord as a witness for Him. You know, we don't want to read the Bible or study anymore because we're so down and out. So we've really got to look at anxiety as a reality. We do experience it. So this introduction will just go through a couple of things that I experienced, and you know, we'll see where we progress from there. Okay, so when I write things down and so on, I'm a visual person. I like to visualize something when I'm reading the Word of God. As I'm reading, rather than just reading the text and letting it sink in, I always like to visualize it in my mind as well, you know, where Christ was walking, and I like looking on the maps about where He was walking and things like that, and just try and visualize what the people's faces maybe looked like when they saw Christ, and how they reacted, and things like that. So when it comes to trying to sort things out, like writing to-do lists and things like that, I like to visualize things as well as best I can, and I use something called mind mapping, where you just basically try and map out a visual representation of what you're thinking in your mind. So that's why I've got the whiteboard here. I'm going to show you a very simple mind map. I do it on my pad here, and this is actually my mind map book. It's just a Moleskine large notepad. And I do all sorts of mind maps on here, just to kind of get it out of my head and put it into some sort of visual format. And from there, then I can build next actions, to-dos and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put very simple, just a few things of the mind map on here, and just to show you what I was going through during this last year as an introduction to what we're going to be looking at with regards to anxiety. So I'm just going to put my name in the middle. So just put Barry in there, and in mind mapping, I'll do a video on mind mapping one day if it's of interest to you, but it's a great way to really get your thoughts out of your head into some sort of order. So you always start off in the middle, you know, you put in whatever it is the subject is. So I've just put me in there for the moment because this is about the things that I've experienced during the last year. And then from here then you see you branch out into what are called nodes, N-O-D-E-S. And these are the kind of main categories that that you want to think about, or you want to kind of categorize all your thoughts. So the first one, for example, would be family. So if I put family, and then the second one, I'll maybe put work. I'm not putting them in any particular order. Maybe I put health, and then maybe over here, if you've got a ministry that you do for the Lord, you put ministry. And maybe you want a separate one for, you know, your Christian life, maybe. But basically, you put whatever it is, the main categories of your life, you would put those down, and whatever it is you want to think about at this moment. So we've got health there, work, family, Christian, and ministry, and I just always circle. And these are called nodes. So these are the main category areas. So the things that I was going through this year, I'll just highlight a few of them. In the family section, the biggest thing that happened was that my dad died. My dad died in January 2022, on the 20th of January 2022, and he was 83 years of age. And you know, we don't pray for the dead. I don't pray for him at all. But I hope he's in heaven. Certainly, we had a great opportunity to speak to him through the last years and that about the Lord, and certainly from the way that he was speaking on his last days on earth, you know, he was saying, I just want to go and be with the Lord, I want to go and be with the Lord. And you don't say that lightly, you know, if you're on your deathbed like that, you know. So I take that, and other events that happened, I take that as a hope that he did actually get saved in those last moments, and I'll see him again one day in heaven. But that was a big issue in the family. My dad died. And what I do is from here then, as a mind map, you've got the main category, family, I put dad died, and now you put down how you were feeling maybe about that. So for example, on my dad died, I write down, it hit me hard. You know, it hit me very hard. It hit me harder than I thought it would. I was very kind of blasé about it before, thinking, look, you know, if he's saved, he's on his way to heaven. If he's not, there's nothing I can do about it, and so on and so forth. You know, I wouldn't say I had an extremely close relationship with my dad, but it got better over the years. Not because he was a horrible dad or anything, but it just didn't have that real kind of open conversation as much as I would have wanted. But it hit me hard. It hit me harder than I thought it would. And as a result of it hitting me hard, it affected me physically. So now you can see you're starting just to get all this stuff out, categorized and out of your mind, and trying to visualize it somehow. So it hit me hard physically. And how did it hit me hard physically? It hit me hard physically by my breathing. So I put breathing there. But my throat really started to close up, just under the Adam's apple here, they call it the Adam's apple. Under here, it started to feel very closed up, and I found it a great struggle to breathe. And that was because what was coming in? Anxiety. Anxiety was coming in. And this was the first time really I was dealing with death in my family. I've been very blessed to have nobody die that's been particularly close to me for these 51 years I've been on this earth. So this was the first time really I'd had this first-hand experience now with death of a parent particularly as well. So it affected me, my breathing, and because I'd suffered from anxiety in the past, I was familiar with what the sensation was. I knew what it was. But this was a new sensation now of actually having a closed throat. Normally I would be feeling a bit dizzy or I'd have stomach cramps or something like that when I've been anxious. But this was a different sensation. And it didn't worry me because I knew it was anxiety I was suffering from. But it was so uncomfortable. Literally I'd be like, I'd be struggling to breathe, and people now, you know, they would have been saying, oh, that was C19, that was C19. It wasn't. it was anxiety, because every time I thought about my dad, what happened, my family, my mum, the loneliness she would now experience, it came on and it came on. And because it came on so regularly during the 6 weeks from when he died to when we actually buried him, it took 6 weeks. It's crazy. But it just got worse and worse every time I thought. But once he had been buried, it kind of subsided a bit. But because of what is called muscle memory, anything now that I think about, even for a moment, just a split moment, some sort of trigger that could trigger that same feeling back, and then I start getting anxious again, and maybe it lasts for 20-25 minutes or so, and then I'm fine. So it's certainly dropped down. I'll say more about these in the other videos, but it's certainly dropped down since when he first died. But physically it affected my breathing, and it affected me mentally as well. I'm not going to write everything on here because I won't be able to fit it all in. I'm just going to give you a couple of key points on here, but it also affected me mentally as well. And I would add here, I'd say hit hard, and I'd put mentally there. So that's how you end up building up the mind map, and then eventually you've got this big map of how you've been feeling, and you can do some actions to overcome them. So my family died. My work, well, I basically lost my job at the same time, or it was around December 2019. I lost my job I left my job, I should have put there, because I had such a horrible manager that came in. It was unbelievably horrible, and that's where I just knew, look, I've got to get out of this place. I've been there 3 years, enough was enough. So I left my job, whatever way I want to put it. And as a result of that, then of course, I ended up taking, through desperation really, another job that was at lower pay. So it was lower pay, and it was also a lower status, in the sense of I was no longer a manager anymore. I'd gone down one level, but that's because I was in no state really with my dad, who was very, very ill at that point, because it was a couple of months, about a month before he died. So I was in no real great state anyway. I kind of panicked, if you like, to just get another job during these difficult times, and I went for the first one, which was lower pay and so on. And that then ended up causing me even more problems, because I realised that my lower pay didn't cover my monthly bills. So at some point, at least within the next 6 months, I would have had to get another job anyway. So that was just almost like prolonging that kind of pain, if you like. So that's what happened in my work situation. In my health started to deteriorate a bit with my neck. I'd suffered a whiplashing incident a number of years back with my neck that causes me every now and then to kind of feel very lightheaded and dizzy. It's not pleasant at all. And if you haven't gone through it, you won't understand it. Once that goes, it's like you can't move, you don't want to do anything. The world is spinning. It's horrible, horrible sensation. So that ended up getting a little bit worse, because I was tense physically. Not only was my breathing affected, but physically I was tense. My neck was all tense, so all the muscles around there were tense. So the blood flow was being restricted there, which was in an already injured area. The blood flow was getting even more restricted, so of course I was feeling more lightheaded all the time. And because I'm also having difficulty breathing, it was shallow breathing, I felt I was always like this all the time, and it was absolutely horrible. So that happened. Again, there are other things there, but I'm trying to keep this as quick and easy as possible, just to show you at the moment. So this basically got worse. This got worse and worse and worse during that. So I'm telling you the problems that I had. The parts of the videos that we're going to be doing are the problems, the results, and then the solutions, how I actually got around all of this eventually. But I'm just presenting to you the introduction of what happened to me really during this time. And then with regards to ministry, I had another YouTube channel that basically ended. There was various things went on. It was during the time of the pandemic stuff, and I was dishing out videos, on the truth basically, and they kept on getting censored when it was heavy censorship and everything. And then I was getting strikes and left, right and centre, and eventually got taken down, and then I got up again. I tried to set up a new one that had problems. I won't bore you with the details, but basically it was a difficult time, very, very difficult as the censorship got worse and worse. It was very, very difficult. And because of all this other stuff that was going on, I sort of kind of lost the will a little bit to bother. I was like, I don't care anymore. Got that into that kind of, I'm not bothered. So that affected me as well. That fact that it ended, and as a result of that, then I started to feel useless. I started to feel useless as a believer. I thought, I'm not doing anything now. You know, at least I had an audience, at least I could help people every week and stuff like that, but now I've got nothing. And I felt useless, and because I'd already been in this situation, so you can start to see how a mind map can give you this visual of how you were feeling. So because I had all of this, you know, it made sense that I felt useless there and things ended. So you can see how it affects everything, and I'll do something in a moment to show how you can link things together on a mind map. There were other things in the ministry. As a result of that then, I had basically no direction. No direction. I just simply didn't know what to do at that point. And then the last one, on this one, for example, as a Christian, you know, I just basically, you know, I just wasn't doing anything. Put it that way. I just simply wasn't doing anything as a Christian. There's other things here, but I'll leave that there for the moment. So I just wasn't really doing anything. I wasn't praying as much as I should be, and things like that. So you can see the kind of things there that I was dealing with during the last year, and how the mind map is so good at just putting it all down and kind of visualizing what's going on in the brain, basically. And then I use a red pen when it comes to mind mapping. After I've got the nodes, the main categories done, and I've got, you know, whatever it is, the linkages off, I use a red pen to try and see if there's any commonalities, any links to what's going on over here compared to here, and so on, whether there's any things that are related. Maybe one thing is affecting the other, and so on, that we can also look at. So for example, if I looked at the fact that my dad died, it hit me hard physically. Part of that physically was also my neck. Then it hit me hard with regards to my neck, so I put a link on that together. Let's see now whether there's anything else. It got worse and worse and worse, hit me hard, so maybe it hit me hard, which basically got me to lose my job, for example, because it had hit me hard so much. In fact, that's the wrong time scale, but I'm just going to use that as an example. It could be that something hit me hard so much that I was underperforming now in my job, so therefore that could have been a reason why I lost my job or something like that. It wasn't, but because I've drawn a line in there, I'll give you an illustration of that. Or it could be that because Node of Truth, the original Node of Truth station that I had, or YouTube channel I had, because it ended, therefore there was no direction there, so that links together. And because there was no direction, that was also me thinking I wasn't doing anything for the Lord. There's no direction there. So you can start to link things together, and maybe also breathing as well. Breathing could also be related to the fact that my neck muscles were tight, for example. So that's really some of the things that I was going through during this last year, just as the sake of an introduction for the moment, and also the method I was using. I use the method now to do it once things have calmed down. When I was going through it, unfortunately, I didn't use the mind mapping because I was too involved in myself and too poor me attitude. But shortly after I started to feel like that, I started to then mind map what's going on, what's happening in my life, to try and see how I can find some sort of solutions to it. But of course, when you do all of this as a believer, you pray to the Lord. I was praying all the time to the Lord, please reveal something in this method. Reveal something to me that's linking together, or something that I need to take care of over here or over there or whatever. And as I'll show you in the next parts of the video, the Lord started to speak to me with regards to the things that I could kind of do to resolve all of this. But anyway, I'll leave it there for the moment. So that's the introduction to things that have happened to me during the last year. So in the next part, we will take a look at the problems of anxiety. So anxiety itself and the kind of effects that anxiety can have on you physically and mentally. So on here it was breathing and so on, but anxiety can have so many more effects on people. So we'll take a look at the problems of anxiety, the problems it causes, and then in part 2 we'll take a look at some of the results of those problems. As a result of having these problems, this is what you can experience, or this is personal to me, this is what I went through, but hopefully it might resonate with you as well as maybe things that you're going through in your life. And then the last part 3, then we'll take a look at the successes of the anxiety. You know, what successes came out of it once I could see a solution, once I was really listening to the Lord, basically, to get him to sort it out for me. What kind of successes happened as a result of that. So I'll leave it there for the moment. Thanks so much for watching this video. Really appreciate it. I'll always try and keep these videos to around 20 minutes or so. I won't go on and on and on. But I hope it was of use to you. I hope you can take a look at mind mapping. There's plenty of YouTube videos on how to do mind mapping. It works for me. It may not work for you. You might just want to write lists down, which I enjoy doing as well, but I find it's quicker if I could just illustrate stuff. And normally I use a blue pen and then a red pen to kind of join the dots, so to speak, if there's any linkages there. But I shall see you again on another video. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell if you want to be notified of future videos that come up. And hit a thumbs up on there as well. Really appreciate it. The more that we get, the more subscribes and thumbs ups, and the more opportunity and chances that these videos can get out to other people. But thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again in another video. God bless. Bye bye.